part 9. I don't know what it is. As soon as the camera comes on, all of a sudden I'm itchy. Are you guys like that? Do you guys make videos? I don't know. I just try not to look too much at the camera. All right. Part 9 is part 9. We're going to start with we're going to talk about the Battle of Bunker Hill, but I wanted to go over Lexington and Concord real quick too, because this is the very first battle after the Boston Massacre. Then you have the shot heard around the world, then Battle of Bunker Hill. So I wanted you to know that exact sequence, okay? So Dr. Warren has to do the Battle of Bunker Hill. Right, this, don't try to look for this on a map anywhere because you won't find it. You'll see, and it's kind of sideways anyway. But you have Boston and Boston Neck, and then you have Lexington, and you have, it's very famous, called the Lexington Green in Concord. This may be up here or here. I don't know. I'm just guesstimating. And it's been many years since I've been doing this. So it's like the game of telephone, whereas at the end you say something and by the end last person it's totally changed. So it could look a lot different. All right. So you have the soldiers from Boston, of course, that were marching this way to try to find the arms in Concord. And so they're marching, and as soon as our spies figured out what they were doing, they hung 2 lanterns in Christ Church. Remember, the Old North Church was in the Midnight Ride of Paul Revere, but Christ Church is the one they actually hung it in because it rhymed. And so then Paul Revere went out this way. So he had a boat waiting for him here. So they said, 1 if by land, 2 if by sea. As soon as he got the word, he went over here. And this kind of comes over like this, I think. Oh my gosh, I'm all kinds of messed up. This could go viral of a teacher that doesn't know her geography. All right, so he goes like this and then comes across here like this and goes to Lexington. They were marching across here, but they had to take a little boat across, and then they were marching across. Okay, so he gets there as fast as he can. By the time he gets to Lexington, though, some soldiers stop him, take his horse. Don't capture him, but take his horse. I don't think they really knew what he was doing. They made him walk back. So it was William Dawes, actually, that went on to Concord and who warned them that the British were coming to take all of our arms, all of our stored ammunition and everything. So we hid the arms over here in Concord. Well, meanwhile, when they come across in Lexington Green, they are marching in the middle of the night. Funny thing, they're marching in the middle of the night, and as they're marching, they're looking up. Can you imagine you're marching in the middle of the night? This is not a time of electricity, okay? They're marching in the middle of the night. As they're marching, they see lights on everywhere. Everybody knows they are coming. That has to freak them out already. So you have lanterns everywhere, and it's like lit up. It should be dark in the middle of the night, and they're looking, and everybody is awake. And so already they're probably left, right. You know, they're probably figuring, you know, this time they're not doing the drums and stuff. They're supposed to be sneaking up. So they march all the way to Lexington. Everybody's awake, of course. And meanwhile, some of these guys have been awake all night. And they went back and they said, go back to get some sleep. They come back and they're right here on Lexington Green. And this is where Captain Parker says, okay, there's Captain Parker and there's, what was the other guy's name? You know what? Colonel Prescott and Captain Parker. And I still forget which one is which, so I'm not going to tell you wrong. Oh, shoot. And one of you guys can have bonus points if you tell me which one is which. I think it is Captain Parker that says, don't fire unless fired upon. I'm so sorry, you guys. I should have already known this. I don't even know where to look it up. So, but I'll have this for class, and I'll fix it as soon as in the videos I can, okay? And he says, don't fire, man, unless fired upon. We don't mean to have a war, but if it begins, let it begin here. That's kind of his famous saying. Only he did throw a cuss word in there. So, anyway, so he say, don't fire unless you're fired upon. That's kind of his famous saying, who I can't remember his name. It should be on your sheets of quotes. So he's telling them not to fire, and the Englishmen are all standing there. And matter of fact, some of our guys, we kind of had a standoff. So finally, some of them were still sleeping. Our guys are like, you know what, this isn't going to be a thing. They're marching on their way to Concord. So our guys had put down their guns and turned, and a lot of them were even walking away. And really, by all accounts, this is even British accounts, you know, this is just what happened. There were shot around the world, and then a shot rang out. Same thing with the Boston Massacre. They don't know who did the first shot. And all of a sudden, what? And they really did kind of massacre the guys that were there. Now, that was true, because they didn't have their guns up, and all of a sudden it scared everybody, and tensions are so high, you guys, it's like you can cut it with a knife. And all of a sudden, a lot of our guys were killed, including the guy that said that. And I think it's Captain Parker, but I just don't know. Anyway, so then they march. So our guys are like, what just happened? And then they march onto Concord and they look for the ammunition. They cannot. So by now it's like midday. They can't find the ammunition anywhere. We've hidden it very securely in the woods. They accidentally set a building on fire. And that too was supposed to be an accident. I'm giving them the benefit of the doubt because I don't believe somebody would do that on purpose. They said, and then there's a bridge and they have a skirmish on the bridge. More of our guys were killed. All right, so now they're going, okay, they knew we were coming. We still killed their guys. This is all they got. They don't have very much. Couldn't find their ammunition, but this is not going to be hard. So then the soldiers start walking back. Now, you got to remember, they're starting to walk back to Boston. They're tired. They have been going since the night before. So now it's like late afternoon, early evening. They're marching back to Boston, only they have a problem. We have all the colonists. Remember, we just heard that they killed people because we have correspondence. We have people that get the word out. We have people everywhere coming out of farmhouses, coming out of buildings, coming out of you-know-where, everywhere, all along their path in their march back to Boston. And you have women, and you have children, and you have teenagers, and you have old men, and they're all armed, and they're killing the soldiers. So on their way back, this long march back, many, many, many of the soldiers get killed. And so by the time, even though they won the skirmishes, we're hiding behind trees and treetops, behind buildings. Remember, they don't fight like that. They fight where you have an army, dun, 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 with drums and bugles, and then you have another army with drums and bugles, and you fire. And when the first line drops, then the second line is standing right behind them. And then when the second line drops, the third line is standing right behind them. That's how they fight. And you don't try to kill the leaders, and you know your honor and all that. Well, our guys said we want our country back, so they were hiding in trees, behind bushes, behind fences, and they were marching. And I'm sure they were firing and marching, but they were marching. So instead of just stopping and like taking cover, they just kept marching. So you'd have soldiers going down, and one would fall, and the other one would keep. So they were very shook up. The ones that made it home alive were very shook up. That made it back to Boston. And they were like, ooh, this is not going to be pretty. So that, I think, is when Governor Hutchinson and General Gage and all the people there were like, oh my gosh, what happened? These bloodied men are coming back to them. And they thought they were just sending them out to, you know, to just quash the rebels. Remember, before this, not any shots had been fired. You had the Boston Massacre, but that didn't really count. That was, no shots had been fired like in a revolution. Well, when the thing happened at Lexington Green, that was called The Shot Heard Round the World. Matter of fact, there's even a song on that too on Schoolhouse Rock, Shot Heard Round the World. Okay, so they get back to Boston. All right, not long after this, you have the sign of the Declaration. Then we have the Battle of Bunker Hill. And this all relates to Dr. Warren.